morning and welcome to another exciting episode. I'll tell you, the studio has been wild before the camera started to run of In the Crease. This is our special playoff episode because we are currently I'd say in the midst, getting toward the end of the playoffs for this coming season. And as you can tell, I am in my spring attire. The hockey shirts, as far as I'm concerned, have been put away. That's winter attire. You know, it wasn't too long ago that the entire Stanley Cup and all the playoffs and everything were wrapped up in April. And then when you made the switch from, summer to winter, and everything fit well. But now you got the Cup going, all the way to July 4th or something like that. So,
well, here's the reason why Fury puts away his hockey jersey, because his Bruins are usually eliminated by the first or second round. So, therefore, he has no need to wear any hockey jerseys any longer.
Well, I will say this. At least that series provided some decent goaltending, and none of the other ones I can say that for.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Boston, for having two elite goalies, got outplayed by one goaltender.
They did.
He was the reason why Boston went home early.
Absolutely. And he deserves it.
And
he deserves all the accolades.
I feel really bad for Swayman because Swayman played very well.
He did.
He got him through the Toronto series by far.
He did.
But he was just a step below
Correct.
Mr. Vezina.
Correct. And we're going to talk about goaltending a little later in the show. But before we do that, I think we need to address the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Probably the biggest controversy this playoff season so far has been the officiating.
You mean there's officials there?
There are. It seems now, anytime you have fanboys and their team loses, you're going to have them blame officials.
It's too easy.
It is. But having said that, there does seem to be a prevalent miscall, bad call going all through the various series this playoff season. Are people just pointing it out more? Has the officiating always been this bad, or what?
I think it's more under the microscope now because you have so much instant replay that goes on in a hockey game now. These officials, I feel, are getting very lazy and very content with, hey, if I miss it, we'll just go to instant replay. Coach challenges it, we'll just go to instant replay. So they're going through the motion. I like my paycheck, but not enough to stick my neck out of the line to make a crucial call in a pressure situation to cost one team or another team the game. So I just think they're playing, I'm just going to sweep it under the rug, and if a coach yells at me enough, and he says, hey, I want to review that, we'll review it. If not, just status quo.
So we need more Andy Hellemans and
I think we need more. I think
and
we need more guys in the NHL as players to police the game instead of letting some of this hanky-panky stuff go on. Because that's what happens.
You mean have old retired players become officials? Is that what you're saying?
I would say maybe not become officials, but maybe be up in the booth watching the game.
Really?
And making decisions besides, I believe when a decision is made, I think the official on the ice that blew the call should have no consideration to even watch it. He should be told what to do because at that point he blew his chance. He missed the call. So therefore, why should he have a decision in a missed call that he should have called right the first time?
I see what you're saying.
So to me, I would have one official up in the booth, one retired official, one retired player in the booth in Toronto, and I would probably have one general manager or someone that sat on the rule committee. Those three would make the decision on the call on the ice when it goes to that thing. I think the official on the ice should have no decision in that call once he missed the call or blew the call. Why should his opinion change because he wasn't doing his job or in the right position to make that call?
So you don't think they get in those huddles and say, hey, guys, I blew this one?
No, it's beneath them to say that. But this wouldn't happen if they made the right call. And I understand the game is passed. That's why we added another official. But why can't all four guys that wear stripes make any call on the ice? Tell me one reason why they shouldn't.
I can't.
Because, I mean, the linesmen are probably better than the officials because they're in the position, usually more consistent, except for goals, because obviously your referees are on the goal line
Right.
to see it. And they don't get all the goal calls right. We have to go to instant replay or the goal judge
Right.
to refer it. So what are we doing for these officials? They're getting paid a heck of a lot of money to miss calls. And some calls are very dangerous. Like the call in the Colorado Dallas series where Ben took a run at Tays.
Yes.
He didn't even touch the puck. Even though the puck was underneath him, Tays didn't even have a chance to touch the puck. And the guy, Tays is a little smaller than Ben's. Ben's did hit him with the shoulder,
Yep.
but unfortunately hit him in the shoulder and the head. I'm a small hockey player. I get hit in the head when someone gives me a shoulder because I'm only 5'7".
Right.
A guy 5'10" is going to hit me in the head every time.
Right.
And what is the NHL doing? They're told any headshots, we're going to come down on them. That was a blatant headshot behind the net where the puck was.
Yeah.
Official right on the goal line. They called no penalty.
Yeah.
Then when the play stopped, they reviewed it and still called no penalty.
Yeah.
But we want to take the headshots out of the game.
Yeah, and your buddy McDavid got cracked in the head pretty good.
Yeah,
with
but
a cross
but
check.
in the official's defense with McDavid,
Yeah.
did you see what happened before he got cracked in the head and cross-checked from behind? He two-handed the player that hit him in the face because his teammates cross-checked him from
Yeah, but
behind.
isn't
And I feel this way. Okay, it should have been a penalty. They both should have went to the box.
Okay.
Because
I gotcha.
McDavid, if McDavid's penalty would have been called for slashing,
Yep.
because he's McJesus, who cares? You stink. You get a ring. Anyways, so if that penalty would have been called on the slash, that guy would have never hit him in the face with the cross check
Right.
because he was going for the chest, but because his teammate behind him hit him in the back, McDavid was coming forward and got hit in the face.
Yeah.
McDavid has no room to complain about that because if you keep your stick to yourself, you're not going to get hit back.
Yeah, but usually on these calls, it's the retaliation
Yeah,
that gets
but you
called
should have
and not
took them
the-
both.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
If McDavid would have been called the first time, that retaliation penalty would have never occurred.
Then you had the other guy got cut in the face, and they didn't call anything on
No.
that either.
Blood.
Yeah, he had
Tent
to
to
leave
injure.
the game and everything.
Well, how about the careless play of the Ranger flying over that Truba? Took that reckless angle at that poor player. I can't remember who was trying to knock his head off. The guy ducks him. He goes almost face first on the board. Probably could have broke his neck
Yeah,
and been that's what I mean. Careless charges.
yeah.
I mean, these refs, they need to maybe go back to
So,
school.
do you think that the officiating in this playoff season is creating more hazardous situations for the players?
It always has. It's just because
It's not just this season.
no, it's been going on for years.
Yeah,
And the only difference is now there's a little bit more instant replay in the game.
yeah,
So therefore you see a lot more of it. Plus, look at social media. There's YouTube clips now
Yep.
all the time. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's Twitter or X, whatever you're calling it now.
Yeah.
It's so blown out of proportion in any sports playoff game. It's under the microscope 24/7 now. It's not like when we were kids. The game of the week was on one time a week. It was Saturday. You saw Peter the Puck before it.
Yeah.
You had some of these other things that they had going on after. But you saw one game. You see every game on any venue. You can watch it on an iPad. You can watch it on your phone. You can watch
Yep.
it on a computer. Watch it on your TV. Go to a bar, restaurant. It's all over.
Yeah.
And then you have what makes it worse. You have the NHL Network playing it over and over and over again, every game, every time, every half an hour.
yeah,
So when there's a blatant bad play or an injury or something happens, everyone knows about it. Even non-hockey fans know about it.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what every sport has to realize, that you can't get away with anything anymore because the camera is always on you.
Yeah.
Whether it's a car accident or a robbery or a hockey game or a baseball game or a football, everyone has a camera now on their phone.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, speaking of getting away with things, let's switch gears just a tad here. You know, we've been talking the last couple of shows about the Team Canada situation and some of the problems that have been plaguing the league. But boy, there are two players who are really in a bit of hot water now, one for the Colorado Avalanche. And it seems every show we do, there's always something going on with the Flyers. We had talked about 4 shows ago about the Russian goalie that the Flyers had, and there really wasn't any urgency to get him over here. But then after the Carter Hart thing happened, that urgency presented itself, and now even that's a controversy. So go ahead and let everybody know about those things.
We have 3 discussions to talk about that organization.
I missed some? Oh,
so
you mean about the Flyers, yeah.
First, Ivan got suspended for 3 years of playing in the IIFH.
Yeah.
And don't ask me why, but I guess because they had to suspend his KHL team, they have to suspend him, which is no big deal because, I mean, there's a lot of good Russian goalies that could play in the Olympics or whatever, and I don't know if he would have made the team as an Olympic goalie anyways when you have Vasilevsky and some other top netminders, Bobrovsky, that are Russian descent.
Sure.
Number 2, technically he wasn't even born in Russia. His mom's Russian, his dad is from another country. So I don't know how.
So does that disqualify him?
No, well, technically it should have disqualified him because he's not Russian technically. So I don't know if that's how he got out of his military duty and his KHL contract so bad. Because if you look at his numbers over there, they were pretty fabulous. I mean, he was seeing a lot of pucks and he had a better win and save percentage than what a goalie's seeing that much rubber.
But when he backed out of his military service, didn't they try to off him?
Yeah, they did. They poisoned him.
Yeah, there you go.
In prison.
There you go.
So I still haven't had a confirmed answer why he's suspended for 3 years and he can't participate in the Olympics if he was chosen, which is again not a bad thing because I think most NHL players shouldn't belong in the Olympics anyways. I hate to say it. It should be college kids. It should be junior kids. It should be everyone's kids that are coming up through the ranking.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like the 80 Olympic team versus a veteran team of the Soviet Union that should have been a professional hockey team to begin with. You know, that's the way I picture Olympics. That's why I like U18 Olympics. But then you have this problem, like with the U18 Canada, they forget where they came from and they forget the privilege of playing hockey and they just go and do whatever they want when they want because they know they're going to be spoiled, rotten millionaires in another season when they get drafted.
Yeah.
You know, and then you take the other 2 Flyer Russian players situation. The one goalie's homesick that they brought over, the 22-year-old kid, which is phenomenal. He's probably going to go back and play in the KHL next year. He came and he just couldn't get used to American life.
Really?
Now, the other Russian player that they drafted that probably should have went in the first round, he's probably going to play for the Flyers next year because his KHL team don't want him anymore because he must have did something to piss off the management, and they're going to let him do his military service over the summer, and they're going to count the hockey games that he played over in Russia as part of his military service, which they usually do.
Yeah.
So he could be a Philadelphia Flyer. Now, that kid dropped to 5th overall, kind of like the Jaromir Jagr situation, you know, because no one thought he would come over and play. So he might really help the organization if he comes over. But that's 3 things to look for down the road, you know, that could affect hockey in Russia to hockey in North America.
Yeah. You know, there are still an awful lot of people, especially some of the old timers who they would be fine with it. They'd never liked the Russians coming over, and they still don't want them.
Well, and there's some people that are running the Russian KHL league, like Tradiak, which I can't believe he tells the players don't come over to North America. And he was a guy that was drafted by the Canadians 200 over round because Montreal just said, hey, we'll give it a shot, you know, because he was one of the best goalies in the world at that time. And he never got the opportunity to come over because obviously the KGB got a hold of him and said, you go over, you're going to have family issues. And now, you know, the one defenseman that defected over here, they both played in New Jersey. He's running the league over there. And he basically defected to come over, and he's telling the players the same thing: don't come over to North America, you know. And you know, if you want to play pro hockey, this is the league to be in, not the KHL.
Yeah.
Even though the KHL, there's no salary cap, so you get paid in, you know, Russian currency in a brown paper bag, so they can pay you whatever you want. But you know, it's a very tough situation. I think the IHF they're going to have a tough time going into 2026. I think there's going to be a lot of cans of worms opening in the next bargain agreement, especially right before the Olympic.
Yeah, and as we said on the last show, Bettman okayed the Olympics again. I thought that was one of the better moves he made when he pulled them out of it, but apparently, I guess the green talks.
Well, that and the NHL players, a lot of the European guys are not happy with not being able to play for their country.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of the Russians, they would rather play for their country than play in North America. I mean, Ovi, he basically told Bettman that he was going to go play in the Olympics, whether you let him or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he did. And then we have another situation where I think the guy plays for the Avs was suspended. He's got
second time.
Yeah, we don't like to draw on this stuff a lot. There are a lot of players that have, situations with some are medical, some are substance abuse. This one seems to be
very dark.
Yeah.
This was very bad. I know what was reported. It's very sad. We'll just say he was found in the hotel room for the playoffs. Really didn't know what was going on. Over intoxicated. Probably was drugs in the room. Possibly he broke his probation because he had 10 games before. I think it was 10 games. Substance abuse. They had him in a rehab place during the season. He had to go to meetings once a week or twice a week. Found with a female lady friend. She was not coherent at all. They had to bring the police involved, and that's where you got the 50-game suspension from it.
Yeah.
Because the management, when they found him pretty much out of it.
Yeah.
And then they all.
Do you think this is it? Do you think he's done, or do you think that it's salvageable?
Technically, yeah, he's probably done in his career. But since he already got caught one time and he admitted that he needed help, the NHL really can't release him because he's in that substance abuse program.
Yeah.
It's like if you're ready to fire me at my job and I say, hey, I need help, you can't fire me. You got to keep me on the roster, and he'll go on to like one of those unfit to play rosters or whatever they call it now, because it's not really the IR, though you can consider it the IR, because mental health is very serious in any sport, let alone your everyday life.
Sure.
So I think the NHL will do what they can to prevent him having another episode possibly, and try to straighten out his life, because you can't play hockey if your life's a mess. And I'm sure we wish this was in place a lot longer. I mean, when you had the interview with Theo Fleury, I mean, I'm sure that guy could have used what the NHL was trying to do for their players now.
Sure. He had to get all that on his own afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's not dwell on the in the quagmire. Let's get back to some talking. Not that the news is necessarily good, because I have to tell you, this is absolutely the worst goaltending I think I've seen in quite a long time. As we're taping this show, the series between Vancouver and Edmonton just wrapped up. Game 7 was last night. And my God, both of those goalies could not break the 90% save percentage. They were below 90%. It was absolutely horrendous. And I got to give, I want to give a little credit to Vancouver and to Coach Rick Tocchet. Their main goaltender went down, and he went down early. They were going to have to depend on Casey DeSmith, and I wrote them off as soon as Casey DeSmith hit the ice. But he got injured too.
I had the under on how many minutes he would play, not games he'd play.
So he was gone, and they brought this Silovs.
Yeah, Archer Silovs.
And I think for a third-string goalie, I think the kid did pretty good.
He's a very elite goaltender.
Yeah.
Again, one of those European goalies, which
yeah.
I hate to say is, but North American goalies, you guys aren't cutting it anymore.
Well,
the European guys are just taking over the league because their work ethic, what they do in Europe, the goalie schools that they have, it's not once a month, it's not once a week. You don't go out and get your own guy. They have them in each organization.
Yep.
And you can just tell he was raw You know, he played
He
a couple
was.
games this season in the NHL.
Yep.
He was very raw, but he did something that you haven't seen probably to go back to the Montreal Canadiens and Steve Penny.
That's going back.
You know, so I mean, you got to give Vancouver a lot of kudos when you're down to the third goalie.
Yeah.
And last year, that's what cost Carolina moving on.
Yeah.
They were down to their third, fourth goalie
Yeah.
in the playoffs, and that goes to tell you how good coaches are, like Rick Tocchet, Rob Brendamore.
Yep,
Elite coaches. They played in the league.
they did.
They play a style that fits their personality, which I really believe both Brendamore and Tocchet, their playing careers and their teams look in the mirror. That's how they play.
Yeah,
And
they were hard
to take Game 7 to a very heavily offensive team like Edmonton, and again, there's teams in the NHL that I don't think is going to win the cup because of one reason: you don't have a goaltender.
That's
My pick was Colorado this year. The thing that worried me, they didn't have a good goalie. A lot of people picked Edmonton. Edmonton doesn't have a very good goalie.
Stewart's not the guy.
You
no.
see the teams that are remaining right now. You have the Rangers. They have 2 top NHL goalies.
They do.
You know, I think they might be the odds-on favorite because if Sedurkin gets hurt, you got Quick, who has hardware. I think Florida's got to be reckoned with because Bobrovsky's an elite goalie. He's won the Vezina. And
the key is that you got Shesterkin and you've got Bobo, and they don't like each other.
yes,
You know, and I think that just adds to the tension.
Correct.
They're both Russian goalies,
Yes.
but there's this animosity,
Yes.
and they constantly want to outplay each
yes.
other. So
And
that's why
that series is going to be incredible
I
for
think the
goaltending.
Ranger
I think.
Panthers.
And
is
then
gonna
you
be
go to Otter.
Yeah.
In Dallas.
Yeah.
He's the reason why Dallas is far. And I really do believe if you're telling me the Dallas Edmonton series, I think goaltending is going to win that series. And I don't know if Skinner can win a game where Otterman has won many games for that Dallas Stars team, which
Yeah.
I don't know how Dallas is doing it because I don't think they're a very talented team. And
Yeah.
I think Dallas team stretches the rules to the limit every game they play. And I think if Dallas does this against Edmonton and Edmonton's power play is as good as it's been all season, Otterman better come up and make some big saves because I mean, like last night in the first period of the Vancouver Oiler game, Edmonton was out shooting them 12-2.
Oh my God, it was disgusting.
first,
it was
you know,
hard
first-
to even watch.
And again, that's why I think, you know, Edmonton has kind of skated through the playoffs because they
Yeah.
got lucky. When you're down to the third goalie and you got taken 7th game and you supposedly have the best hockey player in the playoffs that's left
Yeah.
on your roster,
Yeah.
and he's been pretty much the invisible man,
Yeah.
to my opinion. And Draisaitl has been unreal for that team.
Yeah. Yeah. He's been the star.
You know, if they got any
So far,
goaltending,
yeah.
and you know, Dallas got to stay out of the box.
Yeah, I don't think Stuart Skinner is going to pull it out for him. I
No.
really don't. And there's a controversy now because Ottinger for Dallas, he was the odds-on favorite, I guess, to be the goaltender for the American team. And now people are saying Jeremy Swayman should be in there, and you know that maybe he did more than to earn the role.
I mean,
than
my opinion
Ottinger.
is you invite 3 of the best American-born goalies to camp,
Yeah.
and whoever plays the best in camp, that's who wins
That's
the
who you
job.
go with.
And if you know, excuse my language, if you crap the bed,
Yeah.
then I got the second best American-born goalie.
Yeah.
And it don't matter because it takes, and in a tournament like this,
Yeah.
you're going to need 3 goalies in that tournament because how quick it is, how pressured it is.
Yep.
You know, you have to deal with, you know, COVID's still not out of the picture, so you got to have 3.
Right.
We got to have 3 starting goalies, and you just got to wait your time.
And I got to tell you that, you know, okay, we have a dichotomy here. Many people won't remember this, but I certainly do. When Gary Bettman came into the league and took over the league, one of the comments he made was the goaltenders at that time were too good. He said, and that's hurting the game because the games were low scoring, and he wanted to see more scoring. And gradually, over his tenure, he has managed to take what was the epitome of a good goaltender and get rid of all that. They went to this butterfly style, then they went even worse and went to the Quebec butterfly style, and then they said goaltenders had to be 6'6", you know, 250 pounds, which you and I both know is nonsense. And slowly but surely, he deteriorated the netminders to the point where the scoring is up and you get a lot of scores. It was not uncommon to see, 7-5 games or stuff all through the season, and now even in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, it still has bitten them in the behind. Look how many games, when you go back at the games that were already played, the teams were not able to amass 30 shots on goal.
Yeah.
That's 10 shots per period. That's the normal. And you're coming in and you're getting 18 shots on goal for an entire game?
Yeah.
What are you doing out there? That's not hockey. That's
Let's go back to the bad officiating. You want more goals scored?
call more penalties.
Call
Is that
more
what
penalties.
Well, I don't know if that's the answer though, Bob.
Well,
That's,
if it's a penalty, it's a penalty, right?
I understand that.
And
but geez.
let's go, for example, say we call 2 more penalties a game. An average power play you probably get for 2 minutes, you probably get 3 to 4 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you just called 1 penalty or 2 penalties more a game, no matter what team you're calling on, because you cannot tell me you can sit there and watch one hockey game and tell me how many missed penalties should have been called.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying call everything. I'm just
Right.
saying if you called 1 or 2 more penalties a game, that would add another 4 to 6 shots on an average per game.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the way to go. I don't want to see more specialty teams and
But
power plays.
but
and
that's
stuff like
that's
that.
how you're gonna like in basketball. How do they get so many? How do they get to 100 fouls?
I'll do you one better. I think one way you ought to do it is get rid of the dump and chase. I think the dump and chase is killing this game.
Well,
You have players who are they wanted to build up the wingers. They wanted to make it a high-scoring, high-profile, finesse player game, and then they go to a dump and chase. That's not the finesse player
well,
game.
you know why they go to a dump and chase? Name how many defensemen that are on the equivalent to, say, a Ray Bork, Paul Coffey, Dennis Potvin, Larry Robinson,
Well, you don't
Nicholas
have those
Lindstrom,
guys.
right?
Yeah.
So why do you think teams dump the puck? Because defensemen can't handle the puck.
But don't you remember that the dump and chase
I mean,
used
they
to
would
be
never dump
used-
the puck on Bobby Orr when he was on the
Oh,
ice.
hell no.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So these coaches, like for example, let's use 2 teams that went far in the playoffs. Vancouver Canucks and Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay.
Take Getzel out of the equation.
Okay.
What is that team? A grinding dump and chase team.
Yeah.
Left wing lock, neutral zone trap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Look at Vancouver. What did they do? They had a lot of hits on Edmonton. They might have only had 2 shots on goal, but in that first period, the first couple minutes when Edmonton had 12 shots on goal and they had 2, the hits were Vancouver 14, Edmonton 11. So you got to take what you have on the roster and you take the dump and chase out of the game. The only way you force a team not to dump the puck on you is you have good puck moving defensemen. That's
agree.
why Pittsburgh
I agree.
and Sullivan always wants those good puck-moving defensemen, because what hasn't they had since they got rid of Marc-Andre Fleury? A number 1 goalie that can stop the puck and save the game for him.
That's right. Well, as always, we have more things to talk about than we do time to do the show. I wanted to talk about Ron Brindamore. They're already saying that he's going either to Toronto or Seattle.
He already signed
Oh, he did? Who did he sign with?
Carolina.
With
Stayed
Carolina?
with
He
Carolina.
stayed with Carolina?
And
Good for him.
Craig Berube is
Yes.
signing in Toronto. That's a done deal.
That's what I
pretty
heard
much
that
what I
too.
heard.
So we're going to have a plethora, I think, of coaching changes and player changes after this. We'd like to talk to you more about it, but like I said, we're fresh out of time here. So what we're going to do is hold off until our next edition, which is our Stanley Cup edition. Until then, on behalf of Dave, Bob, myself, remember that when it comes to hockey, if you're in the game, you're in the crease.